Hey Juventini, welcome to the All Juve Cast channel. We are going to be previewing the Supercoppa Italiana versus Napoli. And look at that. I love it. Juventini ready to go right off the bat. My man Jordan Simpson with me. And I had to make sure to put the text up here. He gave me a little bit of a hard time last time. And then Vishwajit, you're ready. Let's go. All right. Yeah, let's get right into it. So the big news right out of the gate, Quadrado has passed the COVID test. He is now tested negative and apparently is going to be in the starting lineup. Jordan System going again, Alberto. Guys, for the Juventini, join me right away. This seems shocking. He's got the test passed and able to travel alone and whatnot. Quadrado, man, he's got Juventini flipped all year, and it's basically those that don't think he's the be-all end-all, and the other ones that are saying he is a huge part of what success we have had. Man, another report coming out saying he is on the bench. Vishwajit saying he is on the bench. This is an interesting one. I mean, we have to think about this. He hasn't played for some time. Obviously, he got the red against Fiorentina. Don't know if I would necessarily throw him in right off the bat right away, but I don't know. The other option is Bernardeschi ends up being on left wing back position. Looking at the lineups, Demiral again now has basically picked up an injury. So I don't know what's going on there with this guy, but for the Juventini joining me now, a lot of them are saying that Demiral, we need to basically scrap him if a good offer comes in. So it's a tough one there with him. I really like Demiral. He has had a quick succession of injuries. He's complaining about game time. He's concerned about his future there. And this is something now we could talk to more about with Juventus. We've had a wild ride here recently. A Juventina summed it up nicely on a tweet there, saying that basically you have within a matter of 24 hours, you see Vidal embracing Chiellini, kissing the Juventus crest, whether it was an accident or whatnot, but he does that. Then he scores against us. You have Conte and Marotta celebrating a victory against us. And then you get Mario Mandzukic joining Milan, all within the span of 24 hours. Okay, so that was a rocky little weekend there. And then obviously the Mandzukic thing we talked about, I don't see him as a snake. You have people attacking Mario, but you have a lot of Juventini that realize he was frozen out, and it is what it is. But after this defeat to Merda, now we have Juventini looking for answers, going back and forth leading into this game. And you have Pirlo coming out again, questioning the mentality, saying it was wrong from the outset against Merida. I don't disagree. It was wrong from the outset. But I still see so much wrong tactically and in this hybrid system that he's trying to do. We need to get things right tactically. We talked about players, and it always comes down to players, and we need to add more talent. We need to do this. But honestly, like, the basics were just not there against Merida. It was a complete mess. There was a screenshot taking place on one of the goals, the first goals. And if you look at it, our defense is ridiculous. I talked about it on the last podcast with Luca. We have far too many players ball watching, chasing the ball, leaving their men. And if you look at it, it was a perfect example on this screenshot, because you had every single player involved in defense collapsed into this ball at the top of the area. You had Ashley Young out wide on one side. Barella on the other, who ended up being the one that put the cross in there. And it just has to be much, much better organizationally. So I see a lot of things wrong. We have fans now talking about the cycle of Juventus. Is it over? We have Chiellini talking about how hard it is to keep it going and whatnot. And had an interesting video from Antonio, who's actually joined us here. Antonio put a great clip out to me of another Juventino sharing a video on his YouTube channel and basically talking about the cycle. And a lot of people considering this one cycle where we've won all these titles. But he broke it down. He says it isn't one cycle. You have essentially 3 cycles, and this current one we're in is a new cycle. So you can't associate all these other ones with this. It's a new project, and it is, and he is right. The other thing is, too, if you look around, you've got some guys that have been coaching for a bit that have some arguably talented squads that are also struggling in tables and whatnot. Is Pirlo truly doing that bad? Currently, it is. I mean, if you look at the 17 games played, 33 points, matching that with the 15-16 Allegri side, yeah, terrible starts in terms of points and turnover, but they are not the same scenarios whatsoever. And whether we attack management for hiring Pirlo, whether we want to attack management for not bringing in the players, one way or another, is we are where we are. Is it better than last season? And sorry, in my mind, it still is. Pirlo still has a lot of work to do. He is growing. We've got to ride this out. We've got to see it. A lot of talks about getting rid of a manager right now, this time of season, is just not something I can get behind. Let's get into this now. We got questions coming up from UT as we get ready for the Supercoppa. Getting back to the attitude, the drive of the players. And one thing I want to just say to finish up this story about the cycles and whatnot is basically you have to look at something else. Our core, our spine has changed drastically also through these years, as it will as players age, as players leave the club and retire and whatnot. So the core, that spine, we need to basically reshape that spine, and we haven't. And that's a reason I see a lot of issue. I've talked about it for a while on the podcast too. We need a general in the midfield. We need someone to form that spine. We haven't been able to lock down somebody in there that can be that general in there. At the back, we've lost Chiellini, Buffon. He comes in from time to time now, whatever, but those are 2 huge pieces. Bonucci was a part of that spine, obviously forming the BBBC. And now Bonucci is shades of what he was. Whether he was carried by the other guys, that's all speculation or not. But regardless, he is not to the level, and we are relying on him to up a lot of minutes. So we have all these things, all this change. It is essentially a new project, a new direction. But Juve needs to commit. They need to commit to it. Pirlo's words talking about the attitude, while frustrating and annoying, to hear, it's true, and we do need to figure this out, and he needs to keep pushing this and get this into the players. He needs management to see this and hear this, and management needs to essentially take over. I'm looking at them to set the tone about the direction. Stop getting players based on market opportunities. Start building the team properly. Have a lot of Juventini believing that now we've entered this Galactico style mercado where you want to pull one big name in and then kind of fill gaps, whatever. So again, all personal preference on if that's right, if that's wrong, or whatnot. But this is a big one. This is a big one. In terms of trophies and whatnot, I know a lot of people don't hold much to the Supercoppa Italiana, but this is big for us because it's a way to fight back. It's a way to start to regain the right mentality and what we need to be. You don't need to get pumped up for this match. This is one of the things that was concerning about the Merida match. You shouldn't need that. If you have a ticking heart. You should be ready to play in that match. You should know what it's all about. Okay, this one here, we know what happened earlier in the season with the appeal. Napoli ended up winning that appeal. And you don't need to get pumped up for this. They're rivals. You should be ready to go. So every single player that's in this lineup should be ready to go, should be fired up, and we should not have a mentality. This is a very, very important game, because if it goes the wrong way for Juventus, I don't know if I like the back-to-back losses should that happen to rivals, and how I see this club currently, which is a little bit fragile, so to speak, when we talk about this mentality. So this is actually a very, very big one, especially for the push that we need to make after it with all these games. All right. Now, questions. And sorry if I kind of ranted there or whatnot, but there's a lot of emotions going around right now surrounding our club. Colin coming in here. Thanks for joining. What's your opinion on Demiral? 4 injuries in a year. What do you do? His value is good now, but in another season. I personally really, really like Demiral. I would not want to see him go by any means. The injuries are concerning. I'm not going to lie. One of them was major, obviously, when he got hurt in the same match against Roma that Nicolo Zaniolo did. So it's concerning. The other thing that concerns me too is when he was fit and in there, Pirlo's reluctance to want to play him there. So I'm not sure if maybe sometimes there's something else going on behind the scenes. And then, of course, you hear the stories of him wanting to look now at alternatives to Juventus in terms of growing his career and getting more playing time. We know with the Turkish national side, he gets a lot of minutes and he plays very, very strongly for him. But for me personally, I've had a lot of discussions on the podcast about Demiral. I like Demiral. I like what he brings. He's a different style defender when you look at the other guys that we have, and he's that hard-nosed enforcer type. And Francisco, who I see has also commented on this, he is. We had a great discussion about Demiral. I personally would not want to see us sell him. Francisco coming in and says, so we're going to sell one of the most talented young positions that we are not deep enough and with no options on the market. Exactly. I mean, it just, for me, it would be far, far too premature to kind of call it quits on Demiral. By no means here. Let's see here. We've got Ken saying Pirlo supporter here. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I still say it's when it's good, it's good. And here's one thing I want to get into with Pirlo is I think for him, he needs to essentially evolve what he's created so far. Okay. When it's good, it's good. Okay. But when it's not, he cannot change it. Okay. And that's the part that frustrates me. He doesn't adapt it. He doesn't change during the match. It's fine that he has this setup that's 4-4-2 hybrids into a 3-4-1-2, a 3-5-2, whatever you want to call it offensively. That's fine. And when it works, it's great. But when it doesn't, there's no changes being made. There's nothing else that he can changes to or that he has. And that's the part that frustrates me. Okay. For instance, the match against Madrid. If you've gone through a first half, okay, and everybody could see where we were getting chewed up, how we were getting chewed up, to go out there again in the second half with no changes, keeping everything the same. That's the frustrating part. Okay. So the jury's still out on his hybrid setup and everything like that, but you also it's the understanding and factoring what the opponent's given you, okay, and what to take and how to attack them, whatnot. For us to continue to have a good chunk of possession, but just get to the outsides and then be stuck. He needed to change things up. Okay, flatten out the midfield, make it 3, attack through one in the middle, centrally, make that your attacking mid that ends up going box to box. If you had to sub in McKennie to do that, be that box to box guy out of the middle, that's fine. Offer some stability to the left side for the youngster Frabota, who's getting absolutely annihilated and left out hanging. Okay, he needs to pick these up. He needs to see that he needs to make a change. I'd like to see that change, honestly, personally, all the time, because it gives you the flexibility. When you're out on a wing, okay, and you have a winger there, if we start pulling our attacking mid out of the center rather than one side, it should balance things out. You still have 2 stable pivots, okay, that could stay back there. And you'd still have the numbers to attack in 5s, which what Pirlo wants in the area. You will have your wing backs, okay? You will have your 2 forwards, and you'll still have your attacking mid. What it does is, when you have your 2 forwards, they need to be rigid. Morata and Ronaldo were all over the place against Merida as well. If you truly held them to positions, and I know this would be tough to achieve based on how Ronaldo likes to play, but you could make this work with one attacking mid out of the middle, keeping the other 2 stable on the side, rather than working this through one wing and make us so one-dimensional and so predictable. It's a change I'd like to see Juventus adopt. And we can talk about that with the projected lineups for this match as well. Let's get to Antonio's comment here. My only criticism of Pirlo is that he still hasn't played a straight 4-3-3. I think we are tailor-made for a midfield trio, potentially Benta, Arthur, McKennie, with CR7, Alvaro, and the Church up top. A lot of shouts for the 4-3-3. A lot of shouts. I'm definitely not opposed to it. I think what ends up happening is, and something we saw a lot of not so much Allegri's final tenure, but with Sarri, is that we saw a lack of support from the the fullbacks not having that extra support. So that's the one thing Pirlo's setup does give us. As the back turns into a 3 center back system, it really gives those guys some support and ability to get more involved. So in the 4-3-3, we would really be dependent on the trident, and then still that midfield. But Benta, Arthur, McKennie, I've kind of thought that Benta and Arthur out there at the same time is a little redundant, and I feel like we almost lose in that midfield when we have both of them all at the same time. We might see this today, and there's a good chance we're going to see all 3 of those guys in there because they're in the projected lineup. So it's going to be very, very interesting to see. Let's see what Eric's coming. I like the idea of Kulu and Chris up top with Morata at the 9 because of his strength as a hold-up player with the freedom to move forward and back. Kulu's creativity up top would help as well. Yes, Kulishevsky as well. I can see Kulishevsky playing a couple roles. I can see him being that up top guy, like he's supposed to pair up with Ronaldo in this one against Napoli. I could see him up there, no problems, without a doubt. I also see him being a guy that plays out of the midfield as he did the season before he came to us in an attacking midfielder role, especially if we kind of change the setup in the middle and use the guy in the center, in the heart, as the guy that pushes forward. I think it's a slight change that offers a lot more stability and prevents this awkward transition from offense to defense when you're asking one guy to do it from one side. And the extremely frustrating part is we got picked apart in the last game. So I think that's another step we've got to adapt there, and Pirlo hopefully can see it and make a change like that. That's not changing the entire system. But we'll see what ends up happening. Liam coming in here with, we need to play the ball into the forwards. Too much hesitation on that ball clogs our attack. Ping it in there, let them hold it up and bump it off. Yeah, I don't disagree whatsoever. Liam follows it up with, as Del Piero said, have a shot on goal, boys. Make the keepers make a save. Absolutely. Absolutely. There's no doubt about it. There's times where our execution is just absolutely abysmal. And I talked about this on last podcast too. Juventini that are feeling frustrated when it comes to terms of consistency out of this club. We have to look at it, and we have streaky players. You have Bentancur that's been in and out of consistency since day one with Juventus. You have Kulusevski, who technically still hasn't found a home. Many Juventini, like we saw Eric earlier, myself speaking to, we think we know where he needs to be all the time. We don't get that all the time consistently. Okay, even Dybala, in terms of he's had consistency issues in and out of form, but out of the midfield, we do need a playmaker. And against Merida, I know everybody's frustrated with how the forwards didn't get the ball, but we didn't do anything to adapt, to change to what Merida was doing, and we just tried to force the same thing over and over, and it just wasn't working. But I agree. The ball needs to move much quicker. Chiellini spoke to it in terms of our passing. Needs to be crisp. We need to be decisive, basically, and make some move. But in terms of the forwards as well, they did not play as a unit whatsoever. They should have been closer together, playing tight with how Merida was, and they weren't. They were drifting all over the place. Usually when one of them would get the ball, the other was nowhere near. And the midfield, as frustrating as they were in terms of getting the ball to them, the options were taken away very, very fast with the way Merida played. So it's again, I personally faulted a lot on Pirlo in that match. So in terms of scrapping systems and whatnot, Abdul comes in with, isn't this a good time for Pirlo to scrap the 3-5-2-4-4-2 and switch to a straightforward 4-3-3, 4-2-3-1 to accommodate most of our attacking players and rely less on our current midfielders? This one is, for me personally, tough, and I'd love to hear everybody that's on here live their thoughts on, do you make the switch, yes or no? Because I think it's tough. I think it's tough just when you've set into something and spent so much time, and he's been persistent with this, Pirlo has, because you haven't seen any major alterations, really. I think just at the very, very start, you couldn't really tell. But now that you look back, it was always this. He was always playing towards this. And I don't know if I make that switch. To the 4-2-3-1, that's almost what I was kind of talking to in what I wanted out of the three midfielders. So in an attacking phase, it could look like a 4-2-3-1 because you'd have that one attacking mid that actually comes back and plays through the middle defensively and offensively. I think that's a big thing. So in terms of the formations and everything, if Pirlo showed us anything, is that, yeah, when you try and line them up in these numerical formations, it could switch so easily given the personnel and what you have out there. So a slight alteration, I guess you could say, yeah, even my slight alteration does end up making it look like a 4-2-3-1 in the attacking phase or whatnot. So, yeah, I guess then I agree it is time to change or whatnot, but I don't think it needs to be as drastic as what everybody's making it. But, Colin coming in here now with, I would not make a switch like this. It's hard. You need to test. We don't have enough time. Two, it shows weakness to the players, and you risk losing their trust. Yeah, it's. I mean, those are great points. And I don't know. The one thing about Pirlo is that he's been adamant about what he's tried to achieve and whatnot. The one thing was there were certain words said after the Merida match, and it starts to make you think that they're maybe lacking a bit of confidence in this system, whatnot. But again, talking to what I was mentioning earlier about just how fragile we seem and the confidence, if I'm being honest, I went into that match thinking this could be good for us, but a grind, or it could be really, really bad. And when you're thinking that, even as a fan, the confidence is not there. And then you hear certain things that get repeated by players and whatnot, and sometimes your coach, and it hurts the confidence. So I see a team that struggles to basically have that swagger that Juve's been known for through these 9 years. It's not the same team. When you look at Pirlo's thing too, and here's another point why I want to make with this midfielder playing the center box to box and being that attacking midfielder as well, is the press. Our press, when it works great, is fantastic. We're able to recover the ball and then we can attack. So our press was an absolute mess organizationally against Merida, and it made things so easy. It actually hurt us rather than help us. Our press hurt us and made it extremely easy for Merida to get space and be able to turn the ball and attack us. So that one change could help that, and it needs to be better structurally. When we talk about that freeze frame held on the defense there, we look at our press and how easy Merida broke through. You need to get positions with a little more rigidity to it and just keep players in certain areas, zones, for instance, because it's just become a bit of a mess there. But I kind of tend to agree with Colin. If anything, a slight alteration to how we shape the personnel and just how guys are actually used more than switching a system completely. And Tony, we need to absolutely go at them tonight and use the Merida defeat, especially Napoli's behavior a few weeks ago, as fuel. We're Juve and everyone wants a piece of us. Time to live up to your name. Yeah, I agree. This is a big one. This can either be detrimental to us and hurt us, or it could be absolutely huge. But the frustrating part is we keep looking at matches for these turning points. You have the Derby della Mola. Okay, here we go. This is the turning point. But then you have a huge slip up. Okay, big banana peel. Then all of a sudden you finally get 3 wins in a row. Boom, get absolutely picked apart. So it's tough. And then again, we're back to square one, as many think. But are we necessarily back at square one? I don't really know. The other thing too is COVID didn't help, because if we look at this, we were missing some key guys. There's no question. A big delict would have been massive against Merida. So we have to factor that into that plays a part in consistency. When you're unable to have your key guys out there consistently, it makes this season very, very tough, especially on top of the fact that you have a coach trying to implement a new system, a new style, a new setup. All these things factor in. Okay, this is a season like no other. And it's difficult, and they're trying their best to manage through and see what they can do. But this one here, Juve Napoli, Supercoppa Italiana, it's very, very big for Juve. Very, very big for us. We need to get after this. Like Antonio said, we need to pick up the victory here. In terms of lineups, for those who are waiting to see the projected lineups or whatnot, if you haven't caught them, again, we talked about Quadrado. mixed reports, some saying he's on the bench, some saying he's actually starting. But the projections were Tech in goal. You would have Bernardeschi at left wing back, Bonucci, Chiellini, Danilo at the back, Chiesa, Artur, Bentancur, and McKennie, with Kulusevski and Ronaldo up top. That's one projection. So far, the only change I've seen, which is up in the air, was if Cuadrado ends up playing, he fills in Danilo's role. Bernardeschi takes off, and then Danilo heads over there. The thing with this is, where do you attack from in Pirlo's little hybrid setup? Because you have McKennie going in on one side, and then you have Chiesa on the other. Do you push through the right? Do you push through the left? And this is the awkwardness that Pirlo's setup kind of creates that would disappear if we put our attacking mid in the center of the pitch. You would essentially even out your attacking shape. The forwards could slide naturally from one side to the other because you have two, right? That would make it an easier transition. And it wouldn't hurt you defensively because you're not essentially leaving one side of the field as a huge hole. And where you do leave the space is right up at the top when you're committed to over to one side. It just seems too easy and too logical for me to do things this way. It's something I'm hoping for. I'm hoping to see, but we'll see what happens in terms of this match. Okay, 173 times these two teams have lined up. 82 wins going Juve's way, 42 losses, 49 ending in draws. Who's going to be able to name me the all-time leading goal scorer in this fixture? Let's see if anybody can get this as I come in with a prediction for this match, okay? Factoring in our lineups, factoring in how the last match left, factoring all these things, where we're at right now. How do I think this game's going to go? Again, I'm sadly left with a feeling that this could, again, be good or it could be really, really bad. It's almost giving me a feeling like Juve's got to stop the bleeding. Will this be a turning point? Should we get the victory? It could be, but we had our opportunities for turning points, and we unfortunately let the momentum slip away. This is a big one, though, because it gets young guys an opportunity to get a trophy with Juve. Winning trophies is what it's all about, and there really isn't a bigger turning point than being able to beat a rival and get your hands on a trophy. It's the pick-me-up we need. Juve needs this far more than Napoli, and I don't expect us to give it up. It's not going to be easy. Napoli will come at us, but I see us getting the job done. I think it's going to be a 2-1 victory for Juventus, and that's my prediction. Leading goal scorer in this fixture. If you guessed Del Piero, you're right, but you're partially right because Antonio Wojak is tied with Del Piero with 11 goals. And I believe, if I remember correct, from researching, Wojak played for both clubs as well. But there you go, 11 goals. Yeah, that's my prediction. I want to see everybody join me right now. Are we going to take this trophy? 2-1 is my prediction. What are all of you predicting for this match today? Is Juve going to get this trophy? I believe we are. I believe we can celebrate it and then get back to work immediately at crushing that deficit at the Serie A table. 2-1 Juve, my call. Even with a bit of a makeshift lineup, if that's the case. Again, Cuadrado, can't see him starting regardless of this, but we will see what ends up happening. Antonio coming in with 3-1 Juve. I like it. Vishwajit actually earlier, we need a creative midfielder. We don't need 35-year-old stars from China or Napoli. Yeah, I agree. We do need a creative playmaker. But we'll see what ends up happening. Also in the news, I guess Juve is going to be having a chat with Sassuolo today about Scamacca, so we'll see what ends up happening there. Ken P coming in with 2-0 for Juve. Eric, after last game, Ronaldo might score 7. Oh, man, I hope so. And to be honest, I took some heat. Apparently, I didn't think I was that rough, really, on Ronaldo last podcast, but we know how sensitive Ronaldo fans can be at times. But apparently somebody made a comment on the last video about why you always have to bring up his wage or salary or whatnot. I don't even think I did. I just think I said I expect better out of our higher paid players. He is not one of our higher paid players. He is the highest paid player by a massive, massive gap. And in my personal opinion, he should be offering much more than he has in the past few outings. And I think that was fair criticism, to be honest. But I hope Eric's right and Ronaldo crushes it today because we will need it. Ronaldo does not mess about with trophies at stake. Fire in the belly. We will take it. I love it. And I hope that's all true. Juventus hasn't lost twice in a row, and a loss usually fuels a team to win a few, but Napoli aren't pushovers. So I was thinking maybe a hard-fought one. To agree with you. Absolutely. Vishwajit, frankly, Juve is not favorites. It will be very, very tight. Napoli are pretty good. It will be tough. Very tough. 2-1. There you go. Great predictions, guys. Thank you all for joining me. Look, one way or another, and for Canadian fans tuning in, DAZN will be airing the Supercoppa. And if you haven't noticed, they've been playing the Coppa Italia matches, which is great for us because usually we're all over the streams trying to get these matches. So it's going to be good. But enjoy the match, regardless of what happens. But this is going to be a good one. And like I said, this is a big one for Juventus, and we needed Iskander coming in with 2-1. Colin saying he's not a prediction man; he's far too superstitious. There you go. And Antonio, Ronaldo needs to get the finger out and stop the sulking. All the fanboys can pipe down because he isn't bigger than the club and should be leading by example. Seen too much head shaking last game. Yeah. Hard to disagree. I need to see less sulking in general. Head down and go. And it's one thing, it's a great note to make. When we let up a goal, I remember they would pick up the ball and not spend this time yelling at one another, as you see players do, and not pick up the ball. Let's get back there and let's get it back. Let's fight, show them who we are. But there's a lot of finger pointing. There's a lot of blaming. There's a lot of sulking. I don't like that. I don't like that at all. That's where the attitude needs to change. You know, we might be a little bit more fragile. Well, that's probably an understatement to say we're a little more fragile at the back now than we have been in previous years. But the point is, deal with it. Stop playing the blame game. Stop sulking. Get the ball. Get it back to center. Go earn it back. Have that pride. Fight. Always fight. And I hope the boys do us proud and win or lose. Fight tonight. Okay? Do us proud. Right as Iskander mentioned right now. Do us proud, ragazzi. And that's it. I can handle whatever should happen. But always fight. And don't forget who you are a part of, which is Juventus. We always fight till the end. Enjoy the match, everybody. I'll be back for a post-match podcast with another great guest. Enjoy the match. Hopefully we have a trophy to celebrate. Forza Juve, fino alla fine. Get after it, boys. Die.